In the golden glow of 1940s Hollywood, everything looked perfect. The lights, the laughter, the glamour, a dream factory built to dazzle the world. But beneath that polished surface lurked something darker, and one man, perhaps the bravest American of his generation, saw it for what it really was. That man was Audie Murphy, World War II's most decorated soldier. A real-life hero who had stared death in the face countless times across the battlefields of Europe. When he came home, Hollywood welcomed him as one of their own, turning him into an actor and icon. But behind those studio gates, Murphy discovered something he couldn't ignore, a moral rot hidden behind smiles and champagne. He began keeping what some close friends later described as his mental blacklist, a quiet catalog of actors and actresses he considered evil. Not merely flawed or arrogant, but dangerous. T.O. Murphy, their charm was a mask for cruelty, hypocrisy, or corruption. And today, we'll uncover who they were, and why Murphy wanted nothing to do with them. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. 1. Errol Flynn, the masked adventurer. To audiences, Errol Flynn was the ultimate hero, the daring Robin Hood, the swashbuckler with a grin. But to Audie Murphy, Flynn represented the first true villain of Hollywood's golden myth. Murphy, a man who had fought real Nazis, couldn't stomach what he heard about Flynn's wartime sympathies. While American boys bled in Europe, rumors swirled that Flynn had flirted with fascist ideologies and even attempted to meet with Nazi officials during his trips abroad. Though many of these allegations were never formally proven, the whispers were enough for Murphy. He once reportedly said that Flynn was a man who played heroes but admired the wrong kind. It wasn't just the politics, it was the fakery. Murphy could forgive weakness, but he despised hypocrisy. Watching Flynn pose as a war hero in costume while the real heroes were buried overseas filled him with disgust. 2. Frank Sinatra, the crooner and the mob. If Errol Flynn symbolized deceit, Frank Sinatra symbolized power without honor. On screen, Sinatra sang about love and heartbreak. Off-screen, his world was far murkier. Murphy, who came from Texas ranch life and soldiers' honesty, had no patience for Sinatra's rumored mob ties, violent temper, and self-indulgent ego. Sinatra's connections to Chicago crime boss Sam Giancana were an open secret. Parties, deals, favors. Hollywood's elite looked the other way. But Murphy didn't. He once told a friend that Sinatra was the kind of man who'd sell his soul twice, once for money and once for applause. Murphy saw in Sinatra everything he despised: entitlement, corruption, and cruelty hidden behind a velvet voice. 3. Spencer Tracy, the tragic hypocrite. Audie Murphy admired strength, but only the kind earned through struggle and integrity. That's why Spencer Tracy disappointed him so deeply. To the public, Tracy was the embodiment of moral gravitas, the noble priest, the wise father, the gentle teacher. But inside the studios, Murphy heard another story: a man consumed by alcoholism, rages, and infidelities who destroyed himself and others behind closed doors. Tracy's off-screen torment was no secret. He often drank himself into oblivion, tormenting crew members and lashing out at his longtime partner Katharine Hepburn. Murphy, who battled his own demons from war trauma, never judged addiction, but he did judge deceit. He couldn't stand that Hollywood celebrated Tracy's moral roles while ignoring his personal cruelty. He was acting off-screen. 2. Murphy once said bitterly, according to one account, only the audience didn't know it. 4. W.C. Fields, the comedian who hated people. Few things disturbed Murphy more than cruelty for sport, and no one embodied that better in his eyes than W.C. Fields. Audiences adored Fields for his sharp wit and bumbling charm. But privately, Fields was infamous for his bitterness. He despised children, mocked religion, and treated his co-workers with open contempt. To Murphy, a man who'd seen children starve in liberated villages, Fields' famous quote, "Anyone who hates dogs and children can't be all bad," wasn't funny. It was obscene. He saw Fields as a symbol of Hollywood's moral sickness, a man who made millions by laughing at decency. He hid behind jokes, Murphy once said, but underneath, there wasn't a laugh in him. 5. Joan Crawford, the Queen of Cruelty. Murphy's list wasn't just men. Near the top was Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's most iconic women, and, in Murphy's mind, one of its most ruthless. Publicly, Crawford was elegance itself, a hard-working actress who fought her way from poverty to stardom. But Murphy heard and witnessed stories that disturbed him: manipulation, emotional abuse, and cruelty toward those beneath her. The gossip around Crawford's private life, later confirmed in her daughter's memoir Mommy Dearest, painted a picture of a woman obsessed with control and image, even at the expense of love. Murphy couldn't understand it. "The war taught me what power should be used for," he reportedly told a fellow actor. "She used it only to hurt." In a world obsessed with fame, Crawford's ability to appear flawless while being feared by those closest to her convinced Murphy that Hollywood didn't just tolerate evil, it rewarded it. 6. George Sanders, the man who welcomed his own end. George Sanders was the kind of man Murphy found fascinating and horrifying in equal measure. Elegant, articulate, and witty, Sanders was the ultimate cynic, famous for roles that dripped with sarcasm and detachment. Off-screen, he was no different. Sanders often joked that life bored him. He drifted from woman to woman, including Zsa Zsa Gabor, leaving a trail of broken hearts and debts. In the end, he took his own life in 1972, leaving a note that read simply, "Dear world, I am leaving because I am bored." Murphy, who fought every day to live despite his PTSD, found that kind of apathy revolting. To him, Sanders' suicide wasn't tragedy, it was surrender. "Men like him never fight for anything," Murphy said. "They only mock those who do." 7. Charles Laughton, the Pretender. Next on Murphy's mental blacklist was Charles Laughton, the brilliant English actor best known for Mutiny on the Bounty and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Laughton was celebrated as one of Hollywood's finest performers, but to Murphy, he represented everything artificial about the industry. He saw Laughton's exaggerated theatrics and public moralizing as just another form of disguise. It wasn't about Laughton's rumored sexuality or eccentricity. Murphy didn't care about that. What angered him was the hypocrisy. A man who played saints while reportedly bullying crews and berating young actors. Murphy respected authenticity above all. And to him, Laughton's entire persona, brilliant, tortured, pretentious, was just a performance that never stopped. 8. Tallulah Bankhead, the Dangerous Rebel. Tallulah Bankhead was the definition of wild Hollywood, witty, scandalous, and unashamed. She smoked, swore, seduced, and shocked everyone she met. For Murphy, who valued discipline and respect, Bankhead was chaos incarnate. Her open drug use, sexual bravado, and contempt for convention might have made her a legend, but to Murphy it made her hollow. He once described her as a woman who fought every rule except her own vanity. Even when she starred in Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, Murphy found her performance too close to the truth, a survivor who didn't stand for anything. In Murphy's eyes, Bankhead wasn't evil in a demonic sense, but she symbolized the spiritual emptiness he saw spreading through Hollywood. 9. Gig Young, the prophecy fulfilled. Finally, there was Gig Young, perhaps the most tragic of all. Young was charming, handsome, and talented, an Oscar winner with everything going for him. But beneath that success was a man collapsing. His addictions, rage, and mental illness grew worse until in 1978, he murdered his wife and took his own life. When the news broke, many in Hollywood were stunned, but not Audie Murphy. According to a close acquaintance, Murphy had warned years earlier, that man's got a devil in him. One day it'll win. And it did. Young's shocking death confirmed everything Murphy feared, that the industry's obsession with fame could turn human weakness into something monstrous. To outsiders, Murphy's list might seem self-righteous. But for him, it wasn't about gossip, it was about a code. He'd seen men die for honor, sacrifice, and truth.so when he entered a world where lies were currency and morality was optional. He couldn't unsee it. Hollywood tried to remake him into another pretty face. Instead, he held up a mirror and didn't like what he saw staring back. Murphy once told an interviewer, "In war, you can tell a man's soul by what he does under fire." In Hollywood, they never stop acting, even when the cameras do. He wasn't perfect. His own battles with trauma and rage are well documented. But even at his lowest, he never lost that instinct for truth. He believed evil didn't always wear horns. Sometimes it wore makeup and smiled for the cameras. Audie Murphy died in a plane crash in 1971, just 45 years old. Hollywood mourned him as another lost star. But few understood how deeply disillusioned he'd become by the industry he served. He left behind not just movies and medals, but a question that still haunts Hollywood today. What happens when a place built on illusion forgets the value of truth? Murphy's list wasn't about hatred. It was about warning that he saw how fame could twist good people and elevate the cruel. And he wanted to remind the world that heroism isn't about applause, it's about conscience. As one friend later said, Audie could spot the difference between a man pretending to be brave and a man who really was. In Hollywood, that made him a very lonely man,